joining us on the phone now is Crystal Wright, self-described conservative black chick. Crystal, good to have you with us here on Mornings on the Mall. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm great.
Well, I've been wanting to touch base with you since the decision came down about whether or not they were going to indict Officer Darren Wilson.
Yeah.
And I noticed that you have been out there making commentary suggesting that, the grand jury pretty much got it right, that the evidence and the testimony of some eyewitnesses all seemed to match up, and that it was proper not to indict this police officer. And I noticed that you have been roundly castigated for being a person of color who holds such a position.
Well, we've talked about this over and over again. Black people apparently aren't supposed to think differently like white people. I'm not supposed to be able to be a Republican or an independent or whatever I choose. And my friend Ron Christie also wrote a great piece for the Daily Beast saying the same thing I did. Justice was served. You had 3 black jurors. You had 9 white jurors. But the point was there was so much conflicting eyewitness testimony. You point out, witnesses were actually proven, as the Associated Press said after reviewing 1,000 pages of documents, witnesses admitted fabricating testimony to meet to align with news reports.
Yeah, I know. Crystal, help me out. You are a black woman.
Yeah.
I am.
I wake up every day that way.
I am not. And so I need your help on this because whenever I try to discuss these issues and discuss what happened in Ferguson and discuss what the grand jury testimony tells me, I try to point out that I think that it's wrong that we're focusing so much on this one incident here. When you look at all of the crime in the inner city, you look at all the young black men and women who died in Chicago just in the last week, and that's not part of the conversation. And I'm told that it's insensitive of me and wrong for me to point out black on black crime.
Well,
what am I doing wrong?
Well, you're not doing anything wrong, Larry, because I was told that recently on a CNN interview. I'm deflecting. How am I deflecting when the Violence Policy Center says that 17 black men are killed every day, 4 out of 5 with guns?
But the priority, according to the president, is this white officer.
Yeah. Well, no, the president, there's so much wrong with what the president did yesterday in meeting with so-called civil rights leaders. I don't have any civil rights leaders that I look up to because we don't need them, because there's nobody like Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King Jr. because they were fighting for us to have equal rights to whites, okay? And Mike Brown was killed because he made bad choices, not because he was racially profiled. He robbed a convenience store and then confronted a police officer. That's really sad. That's what we need to be talking about, this culture of defiance within, I would call it a lower class black culture within the black race, because I don't behave that way. None of my friends were raised to behave that way, and that's what we need to be talking about.
Well, why is it, though, when you bring up evidence, for example, I keep hearing this soundbite. He was an unarmed young black man who was murdered at the hands of a police officer. Because that's the narrative that a lot of they buy that hook, line, and sinker, and the evidence doesn't back that up.
No, it doesn't. And I think where we are today is over the last 30 years, the left has tried to be apologists, along with the news media, for the bad choices that are causing black Americans to commit more violent crime, to be in a cycle of poverty overall as a race, and that's the breakdown of the family, period. You and I can go to any inner city, we can go to the D.C. public schools, and we're going to see, a lot of blacks on free lunch, on all kinds of government assistance programs, because they're coming from single-parent homes. They're being raised by moms who are barely that much older than they are.
Yeah.
That's the real issue, and that's what the president doesn't want to talk about, because somehow it's become accepted to dance on eggshells when you're talking about the issues that are really affecting the black community. You can't be honest, Larry. That's why you and Brian can't talk about this, because you're white. You're going to be castigated, even if you're talking about the facts.
Yeah. Crystal, here in Washington, we saw protesters take to the streets, shut down traffic, shut down the 14th Street Bridge over the weekend, shut down the expressway. Are these just political opportunists trying to take advantage, or is there an issue here in Washington that needs to be addressed?
These are fools, okay? Plain and simple fools. Because
somebody told me,
I never do. But somebody told me, this is like Rosa Parks, because I tweeted yesterday. I was like, what are you accomplishing by disrupting traffic over the holiday weekend, not allowing mall workers, remember when they did that, to go to work?
Yes.
Well, guess who's hurt by that? The workers. And God knows black people need jobs. Unemployment is almost twice the national average, above 11%. Oh, and let's talk about the 60 businesses in Ferguson that are either destroyed or to the point where it's going to take months for people to reopen, or damaged and they can never rebuild, okay?
Right.
Jobs for blacks. So they look like fools. It's not like Rosa Parks, when my mom was a 13-year-old going to ballet class. She was already sitting in the back of the bus, and a white man told her to get up. Ain't like that, because my mom was just fighting for the ability to sit on the frickin' bus. Do you get that, dummies?
Yeah.
People really need to read their civil rights history.
Well, and this is what's fascinating to me. You know, Joe Scarborough made this point yesterday. Apparently, he has a morning show on television. I don't know why anyone would watch it. But he said, "Listen, seriously, Democrats and progressives, you want to make Michael Brown the new face and the new image and martyr of the civil rights movement. This man is not John Lewis. This man is not Rosa Parks.
They want to make him Emmett Till. I wrote about this on my blog for this week. I said, you know, this is an insult and a fraudulent attempt to rewrite civil rights history. He's none of those people. He made bad choices. He was not racially profiled.
And so, but the president, that's what he wants to talk about. Racial profiling.
Because it fits his narrative.
There's no evidence that there was any
No, because remember, the president has to keep lying to blacks because he has done nothing for them. Economic opportunity is probably, I would say, at one of its lowest for black Americans. He's done everything for gays, for illegal immigrants, and blacks should be outraged at that. Oh, you guys don't have jobs, but I'm going to grant amnesty to, what is it now, 5 million, I think, will fall under this new edict he's ruled. You know, and now, so apparently at the White House, you know what he's coming out with? Even Dana Milbank in the Washington Post today blasted the president. He said, why is he meeting about this crisis? You know, now it's 90 days studying policing practices. Well, I'm okay with that. I think we should have a federal standard for policing, you know, as far as training officers. But I don't think the officers should be the villains or the victims.
Yeah, well,
they're not the villains. I mean, they're the ones. And you know, real quick, the guy who's the chief of police in Milwaukee. I don't know if you guys saw that video going viral. He was criticized. People were trying to get on him for answering a cell phone call at a press conference about a shooting, and he said, "Guys, that was information about the 5-year-old that some black kid had killed."
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Let's put that in perspective, people.
Well, we'll have to leave it right there. Always a pleasure to have you, Crystal Wright.
Crystal, thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.